flat sketch is, you'll just transfer it here using ruler and nice curves so that it's smooth. And this is how you fill it out. Okay, any questions on the pattern process? Good. Okay, stop me now before I move on. Okay, we're gonna transition to the fabric cutting and the sewing today. So let's use my previous pattern that I already did. Since I have everything cut out already. Find your grain line first. The grain line is always going to be your selvaged edge. So my tip is cut out what fabric you need, what amount you need, and then put the rest away so that everything is not like all over your space. So I'm going to find my tallest piece to kind of just estimate how tall I need it to be. Approximately here. So I am gonna cut out just that part. And I'm gonna rivet. You don't have to rivet. I'm gonna do it. So now I can put this away. It's not going to be in my space. And I can just focus on what I need to focus on, which is this. Now to cut the center front, it's cut on fold. So the way that it is prepared is you fold your fabric in half and make sure you have your grain line direction, okay? So the grain line is always going to be, what I like to do is just look very closely to the direction of the warp and the weft. So I know this is the grain line, but then I want to align it up. I don't want it to be folded offset like this. Okay, this is going to warp your piece. It's just going to be very frustrating. So line it up. I fold it, I crease it. I just kind of eyeball to see that it is completely parallel. And it looks like it is, so I'm going to go with that. It's not going to be 100% all the time. Like, it's not going to be completely straight, but if you can get it to be the most straight, that will be very beneficial for you. Yep. And then right off the bat, mark your grain line. And I know this is approximately where my pattern is gonna sit, so I'm just gonna do that. Marked my grain line. Where the center front is, I'm gonna line it up with the folded edge. Folded edge. And then you can either pin it out, like pin using your tailor's pin, or I just use my weights. I personally don't like the pins because it makes it bumpy. But a lot of people like to do that because it keeps it very intact together. So when you're cutting it, it doesn't really move much. So the way that I like to do it is I just weight it down. I use my fabric pencil, or in this case, just a graphite pencil. Mark all of my necessary markings and trace it out. have a notch here too, but I didn't notch it. Take it out. Yep, notch, everything looks good. I'm gonna go and cut it.
I forgot if we said it, but if you do decide to invest in your own scissors, make sure you don't use your fabric scissors to cut your paper.
Yeah.
It will dull your scissors up. So you will want to tag your fabric scissors as like fabric scissors, and make sure no one else steal it and use it on paper.
Okay, so before I open it up, I'm gonna clip my notches. I like to just do like a 1/4 of an inch clip if I know the seam allowance is 1/2 inch. Just enough so that I can see it. And now when you open up, that is your complete center front piece. Let's put that to the side and move on to the next piece. So when you gradually move away from the selvage edge, you're not gonna know which direction is the grain line. So it's always good to just orient yourself every time you're gonna start off tracing a new piece. Now I'm gonna move on to the front side. And I'm gonna draw my grain line. So I am just gonna look, kind of guess to see where the placement of my bodice is, or my pattern piece is. Find the line, look closely to see the weave, and just draw your grain line. And then try to line it up. Like, it's not gonna be perfect, but you just kinda, you know. Cool. As best as I could do. Put my weights down.
There's a bunch of rocks or stones behind there that you can use as weights underneath the table, I believe.
Oh, there you go. You can use anything. I think I was using this thing. This is my measuring tape for the longest time. And it works fine. Whatever is in your toolbox. I just realized that I didn't bring my interfacing. Does anyone happen to have interfacing that they bought already?
It's in my locker.
Can I borrow it? I'll pay you back with more interfacing. Okay. Mark all my notches. And yeah, okay. So for this one, we're cutting 2. I traced it out on one end, but I'm going to cut it on 2 pieces. So I'm just gonna fold it over. Instead of having to trace twice, it's just gonna be a lot of work on you. Just fold it over and make sure your grain line is correct on this folded seam, because that indicates that the other side is gonna be also on grain, and it looks pretty close to me. I'm gonna cut it with both layers together.
I learned to do this with pins instead of weights. So what I like to do is I'll cut on my centerfold fabric first, and then I will fold my fabric in half, and then I'll pin through both layers of the fabric at the same time, and then I'll cut with the pins on. I like to do it that way because I don't have to be as careful as using the weights. What if it shifts and stuff? But definitely it's tedious to put down the pins on the fabric.
Yeah, it's a good idea to find what makes you comfortable. I like to do it one by one like this because I do not like to waste fabric. Because if I folded the whole thing in half and then I traced everything out, I feel like I create a lot more waste. But, you know, whatever your priorities are. whether it's efficiency, speed, with my notches.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is a lot of interfacing for this class, I believe.
Ooh.
So if a couple of you guys want to team up and then maybe buy a big row and split it up, that will probably be more economic beneficial because I don't think we'll go through this as a class.
That's quite a bit of interfacing. Yeah. But if you do plan to, be in fashion for the next few years, it's probably going to be helpful. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to cut my 2 back pieces. I'm going to do it all in one. Looks like it's on green. See, if I do it like this, I feel like there's so much wasted fabric here. So I'm going to zhuzh it a little bit. Yeah, looks good. Okay. Center front is going to be parallel to that, so I do not need to draw the grain line first with this one. So this is going to be kind of tricky, but I will measure, give myself just like a random number to measure from the center front. Let's do 9.5, and then line it up with this grain line. So 9.5 is my guide number. Okay, so that looks pretty straight to me. I'm gonna weight that down so that it doesn't move. Did you guys understand what I did with the grain line in the center front? Yeah. So that ensures that I am as parallel to the grain line as I can be. Oops.
Yeah, so if you're using pin in this step, you can just pin down around the edge. For example, if there's a pin here, you can just pin across like this all the way, but try not to pin it like this direction. Then when you're cutting, you can just cut through the pin, then bye-bye your scissors. But if you're pinning through this direction, you will be able to cut it better. And then you can pin through both the paper and the 2 layer of fabric at the same time.
Let me try pinning this way. Show you guys how to pin.
Oh yeah, and if you do use pin while stitching, you will always want to remove the pin before it goes through the needles. Otherwise, it can ruin the needle.
This is not cut on fold, but I'm putting it right at the edge of the fold line because I know that that's the grain direction. You just do it at the corners, or do you go all the way around when you pin?
I like to overwork it, so.
You like to overwork it? Okay.
Yeah, I like to put pin everywhere, so.
Let's just add one more pin. Right. Yeah. Okay. So this one I had already traced. Just do my notches. Darker. Oh, I forgot to do my grain line. So I'm folding it on the grain line just so that I could transfer it over. my grain line right there. Okay, time to cut. Oh, you know, if you guys prefer to use a rotary cutter, this is also super helpful too. Yeah. You gotta make sure it's sharp though, so you can cut all the way through. See, that didn't go through. This is nice for like the curved edges, but you gotta be like very precise, because if you, oh, see, no, it's not. Like if your hands are shaky and you go offline, then that's your seam right there. Make sure it's very sharp because it just distorted my 2 layers. Okay, let me just recut it. And then we have this piece, clip my notches. This is just my preference to clip the notches. You can always use pencil to transfer it to the other side. I did not mark my 2 notches here. These are the back pattern pieces, so the 2 notches indicate that is the back armhole. So make sure you have those 2. Okay. One, two, three, and then this is the. So you just go and cut it like this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, in this way you can turn your fabric, turn the whole piece line towards your scissors if you like. But you do have the risk of cutting part of the paper with your scissors, but
I think the other way might take longer though, like drawing it out.
I don't know.
So,
But also, like, if you're using a pattern you're trying to save, doing this means you might accidentally cut off a little bit and next time cut off another little bit, and then eventually it might be like 3/8 off or something. Then your ease is gone, or so. There's also that risk.
I'm just marking my notches, and now I'm taking out the pins. And then I'm gonna cut my center front, because I don't need it to be tucked. I mean, center back, gosh. Flip. 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 Okay. All of my bodice pieces are cut out. Now let's move on to the facings. So I have one facing here, and then this is my grain line. I'm just gonna line it up right there. Mark my grain line, and then I'm going to trace this one. So this one is cut 2. So I'm gonna fold it in half. And find where it lines with the grain line and trace. Mark my grain line, and also because this piece looks kind of confusing, I'm just gonna put the center back sign. You don't have to do that for any of the pieces, but this piece looks like it could be confusing, so this helps you orient yourself. Facing. And this one is just one piece, so I'm just gonna cut it as is. Don't need to overlap it. Okay, that's all the self fabric. We're not done yet. We still have the interfacing. Almost there. Okay, so keep these ones separate. This is trash. And let me find my interfacing pieces. Right here. So I had already cut these to be 1/8 of an inch smaller. So a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna take my interfacing. So for this, it doesn't really matter where you, like, there's no grain here, grain direction. So you can really just line it up anywhere, but try to be space saving, because this one can really, like, you could be very wasteful with interfacing if you don't put it on, what's the word I'm thinking about? Like, kind of like position it nicely together. I can't think of the word right now. There's a word for it. Yeah, today's class is particularly long because we have a lot of stuff to go over. I was debating whether to split it up and do the sewing part Thursday, but I feel like I want to give you guys all the material that you need, and then Thursday will just be lab time for you guys to work on this. So, yeah, this due date is next week already, so I want you guys to have plenty of time. Okay, when you're doing the tracing this one, remember to flip it because it's gonna be mirrored. So I traced it like this, I'm gonna trace it the other way. The V-neck one, it doesn't matter, you just flip it over, it's the same thing.
Yeah, there's a right side and a wrong side to the interfacing.
Yes, one side has a little texture to it, that is the sticky part. That is the part that attaches to the fabric. So when you're ironing it, just remember not to have this side facing the iron, otherwise you're gonna melt it. And then it's just gonna mess up the iron. Cut it out. Oops. feel like this part takes the longest. Just the tracing, cutting, the pre-work is what takes the longest. I feel like the sewing might not be that complicated.
Just straight seams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't that?
That's it, guys. That's all the cutting. All of the pieces are cut. Now we're ready to, well, we have to do one more thing before we start sewing. We have to iron on the inner facing to the facing.